JLP's term was security. You could have seen the big spend on security. So now that the they have more fiscal space based on the debt to GDP ratio, and they don't have to spend so much on security. I am hoping that they make a massive push to education to get that early childhood education level up.
I'd love to see all of our students across Jamaica get equal education, equal opportunity.
I think it's very, very important that Jamaican youth see teachers, policemen, nurses doing okay, being able to afford their own car and stuff like that, and not be at the bus stop with them. So the more money they can give these people in their pockets, the more the kids can look at these professions and say, hey, when I get older, I want to be like these people.
We shouldn't be arguing about whether or not the teacher should get a 10% raise every year or 10 or 5% raise every year. I think that they should just get it. You know, that shouldn't be a part of a negotiation.
Although the crime rate has gone down quite a bit, I think they could do better in that area. I think they need to try and bring more companies into the country to provide jobs for the younger people, the younger generation.
All these people that are deported and going back to Jamaica, and some of them didn't set themselves up. I believe that they should have places for them, because that's how the crime is going to start all the way up again, because they come, they have nothing, and they go back, and they're going to go in crime. If you go back and you have nothing, they're definitely going to go back in crime.
I want to make sure that stuff is done to help small farmers, because they are the backbone of our feeding program in Jamaica.
Our healthcare infrastructure needs assistance. In fact, if there could be, if that could be upscaled, then we could actually have almost create a new industry overnight. And that is folks like myself, who are at the stage now where we are now completed our economic life cycle in the United States as relates to our working time, and now wish to come back home and reside here. My concern, of course, is number one is health.
I'm not sure it's going to turn out, but I pray it will be a little bit more peaceful than in the 80s, right? And it will be successful. The people out here know who they want, so they will vote for the right person.
Welcome to House to Home, a bold new concept by The Gleaner that celebrates every part of the home building journey. From concept to comfort, we're capturing the full process. From concept to comfort, we're offering brands like yours the opportunity to be seen, heard, and remembered by thousands of viewers and potential clients. We offer premium print feature in The Gleaner, Instagram feed and story content, branded video walkthroughs filmed on location, and customizable ad options for every budget. If your brand is involved in the construction, furnishing, or finishing of a home, this is your space. From real estate developers to tile suppliers, lighting companies to landscapers, we are telling your story. Let's take your business from blueprint to spotlight with House to Home. Welcome to House to Home, a bold new concept by The Gleaner that celebrates every part of the home building journey. From concept to comfort, we're capturing the full process. From concept to comfort, we're offering brands like yours the opportunity to be seen, heard, and remembered by thousands of viewers and potential clients. We offer premium print feature in The Gleaner, Instagram feed and story content, branded video walkthroughs filmed on location, and customizable ad options for every budget. If your brand is involved in the construction, furnishing, or finishing of a home, this is your space. From real estate developers to tile suppliers, lighting companies to landscapers, We are telling your story. Let's take your business from blueprint to spotlight with House to Home.
Back to Vote 2025 at TVJ's ongoing coverage of Jamaica's general elections. I'm Janella Precious, and then there were two, Jody and Janella.
Hi, Janella.
We said bye to Mr. Poe. Listen, I'm enjoying this conversation about social media, and I'll tell you why in just a little bit, but I was told that O'Shane Masters is in St. Mary, somewhere in St. Mary, is it West or Eastern St. Mary, and he filed this report.
I'm O'Shane Masters, and I'm here at the Broadgate Community Center here in Southeast St. Mary. Now, let me tell you about my journey so far this morning. Now, my journey started at the Gibbs Hill Church of God in Southeast St. Mary, where the seat is being contested three-way. Now, the JLP's Dr. Norman Dunn, the PNP's Chris Brown, and the JPP's Mark Hutchinson. The polling station, which houses PDs 30 and 31, got off to an early start by approximately 7:15. The first vote was cast. Now, that voter, however, did not want to speak on camera, but she told me she was elated to cast her ballot. Now, at polling station 42, located on the premises of Stanley Shaw, while operations started smoothly at 7 a.m., now constituents say it is a protracted wait time to exercise their franchise.
This is the starting of the polling. But as far as I can see, I'm here for a while, and I believe it's moving very slow, because I believe I should move from here already. But being as this, we have to wait. But things is very calm at this moment. And
at the Broadgate Community Center, similar sentiments as in to the slow start. Now, reporting from the Broadgate Community Center in Southeast St. Mary, I'm O'Shane Masters for TVJ News.
Thank you so much, O'Shane, Southeast St. Mary. And I think one of the things, Jody, causing the delays, people don't have their voter's ID. So they have an ID and it has to be verified. So if you don't have your voter ID, you will have to expect delays. That's just how it is. And I remember us doing a story recently about the fact that at the EOJ, you have so many uncollected IDs. Yeah. And so we just want to encourage persons, if you intend to go out to vote later, expect delays if you do not have your voter ID, because there is a system of verification and it has to be done. You know what I'm saying, Jode?
You have to expect delays, but Glasgow Brown, Director of Elections, did speak to us about those uncollected IDs, encouraging people before the elections to go get their IDs, saying that they did have a number of them in the offices uncollected, but also the process of verifying, making the oath, having your name checked, checking your identification, that is going to be a little bit of a wait time. But there have been complaints already about persons saying the wait time is far longer than just that checking process, talking about elderly in lines with no accommodation being made for seats for individuals as they are waiting in those lines, with concerns for individuals as well that they might be now looking at the outside of the 3 hours that they have to go and vote and come back to the office because they want to be able to exercise their franchise. So some delay time, yes, but perhaps not as much as we need to see in some of these areas, as people want to make sure that they can vote and don't want to be frustrated so that they have to leave without casting their ballots.
That is correct. And we also know that it goes up until 5 o'clock. So I would suggest planning. You know, for example, that when the polling stations open in some areas, certainly in some areas, there will be a long line. And so for me, I would probably, you know, plan ahead, maybe go like 1 or 2, or maybe closer to the end of the polling. Why are you shaking your head? No?
Because
you've tried it?
With rain expected later today in several places in Jamaica, with mobilization now wanting to make sure that if you want to have this high voter turnout, you are having as many people as early in the day as possible come out, making sure as well that you're mobilizing all the people. You're looking then, your canvassing is correct, your agents are letting you know how many more people you need to come. The later you push that in the day, the more desperate it becomes closer to 5 o'clock, leading to then the shift in the wait times not being in the morning now, but perhaps being in the evening. I think it's important for persons, as you say, to plan, but also just have some patience. Bring a book along with you if you need to. Plan for some time there, and understand that since 1944, we have had universal adult suffrage. That is the ability for every single adult here in Jamaica to vote. And that just is going to take a little time.
Yes, so water is important. And I think I was encouraged when we did an interview with the EOJ, and they said that accommodation will be made for persons who are disabled. As you know, Jody, there have been cries about the arrangements made for persons who are disabled. In some of the polling stations, for example, you don't have ramps. In some instances, persons just don't understand the need, for example, of a person who is blind. There needs to be some kind of patience, and so there you have some people here, but there needs to be some kind of patience, you know, especially when dealing with persons with disabilities, and all they just want to do is to, like all of us, to exercise our franchise, and they should be allowed to do so. So I was very relieved when the EOJ said that, listen, we are making arrangements so that everyone who is on that voters list, who wants to cast their vote, that we will be making arrangements for everyone. So that's a good thing.
That's an amazing thing. And my co-host this morning, Kamar McEachran, on the Morning Agenda, spoke with one of our colleagues, Rowan, in Hellshire, talking about the arrangements that had been made for persons with disabilities. And there are ramps in place, which is amazing. This ability to allow persons to access and to move into the polling stations and to go around. So making sure that we are mindful of this population, but also making sure as well, as Director Brown has said, that every single Jamaican who wants to be able to vote has everything that they need in order to do so today.
So, Jody, we need to take a quick break now, but we will have more from our ongoing coverage after this break. So welcome back to Vote 2025, TVJ's ongoing coverage of Jamaica's general elections. I'm Janella Precious, and I'm joined by my colleague, Jody Ann Quarry, host of Power 106's Morning Agenda, and she's also an attorney at law. I've been told that our reporter, Kimberly Petty, has a report, and she is live in Westmoreland.
I am here in Eastern Westmoreland for the election day activities. Now here at the Colonial Infant School, if you look behind me, there's a long queue, but an even longer wait time. And the elderly persons have been complaining that they have to be waiting for extended hours, which is causing a lot of stress on their feet. Now, the JLP's Daniel Lawrence is expected to vote here. He was slated to vote at 8 a.m., but he's not here as yet. Now, there are 6 names on the ballot to include Lawrence and the PNP's Dr. Dayton Campbell, but he already voted over in St. Anne. We spoke to one voter who told us because he was so excited, he got up from about 1 a.m.
Well,
to come out and vote.
the man when me put through, you know, are my boss. The poor God I king. Yeah, poor God I king. I'm salary. Them are 2 people.
I decided to vote for him this time again because
when me did the should I vote to them.
now things just got heated here in Eastern Westmoreland at the Colonial Infant School, where a PNP outdoor agent was in a brawl with a voter. The police had to intervene. No, I also went to the Belmont Academy School, where the numbers weren't as high as here, and it was a similar issue as persons were affirming, and it was a long wait time. Now, I will continue to bring you the news over here in Eastern Westmoreland, as well as Western Westmoreland and Central Westmoreland. Stay tuned. Reporting for TVJ News, I am Kimberly Petty.
Thank you so much, Kimberly. And Jody, one of the things that I continue to see is the number of senior citizens in these lines. Many of them, they are used to waking up early and getting things done from very early. And so we are going to continue hearing the reports about the long wait times. Somebody mentioned to me that they were in one of the areas where the electronic machines, and these use the fingerprints, at one of those centers, there were delays, the person said, with older persons whose fingerprints are not as clear. And so they also have it's not that the machines are not working, but with a few of the senior citizens, their fingerprints were not as clear, but the process took pretty much 2 minutes. And you know, it was smooth sailing. So I'm happy to see the use of technology, and hopefully in the next election, there will be more polling stations where we will use the EVS, because that too lessens the wait time and the delays being experienced now by persons, as we saw there in Kimberly's report in Westmoreland.
I have no experience with the electronic voting machine,
Yeah.
so I am one of those people who enjoys the feeling of going, having my tiny little pencil, marking, and coming out of the polling station. I do think, though, that this move towards more electronic processing is useful, but at the same time, as always, caution is always to be called for. But making sure that older people as well get the support that they need, assistance with these machines, making sure that if your fingerprints are something that are not, as you said, easily read, that there is some sort of backup or accommodation allows for this process to go swiftly The concern, though, about them waiting for very long periods of time, especially if they would have been there from the start of voting at 7 o'clock, if they're still in lines or they're still waiting to have some sort of processing, that is going to be a problem. And then we saw the brawl there and the excitement at a polling station having to now call for the intervention of the police. I think it is certainly something that, as we hear from the reports on the ground from CAFE, from the OAS, from CARICOM, from the Commonwealth, as they're all election observers today, it will be interesting to see if there are other areas that have similar incidents reported.
I think the OAS officials, they will be speaking with reporters somewhere around 1 o'clock today. As you know, these observers have been at polling stations I don't know if it's right across the country, but the idea is for them to visit as many polling stations as possible. And so later this afternoon, we will get an update from the OAS about some of the things that they would have observed. And of course, CAFE also will be speaking to the media. But I mean, thank goodness rather for the police. They are everywhere, and you know, they would have voted last week, and so in situations like we just saw at the brawl, they are ready to intervene to ensure that the process is as safe and smooth for everybody, and to ensure also that the law is maintained, Jody.
57% voter turnout for the police and military last week, as well as election workers who were participating today, allowing for them to deal with, as you said, those on-the-ground situations. But we also want to shout out those auxiliary police officers, what we call the one-day police, that also are part of the formal structure that allows for us to know that we have persons on the ground that are going to be maintaining law and order at these polling stations, making sure that where incidents do take place, they do not derail the entire process for all those who are coming to cast their ballots.
I want to point back to something Kimberly said in her report. There are 6 persons on that ballot. I think, was it in West or Eastern Westmoreland? 6 persons. And I just want our viewers to know that there are 47 independent and third-party candidates also taking part in this general election.
More than 47?
No, it's 47.
47. So the United Independence Congress, I think, has 7.
Right.
Jamaica Progressive Party, initial numbers had been 47. Now it seems been revised to 43. And then we have, I think, 8 independent candidates. I think we have a bigger number.
What I would love, Jody, is that the independent candidates, their presence need to be felt, not just on nomination day, because a lot of the times you don't know that there's an independent until there's a nomination day. How about you have some town hall meetings? How about you lift your engagement a little bit so that people know you? And I want to tell you that some of them have some really good ideas.
I think that it is important for us to look as well as how we pull them into the process. We had national debates that did not have any of the third-party candidates. So the Jamaica Progressive Party and the United Independence Congress was not represented on the platform for these national debates, even though we have 4 registered political organizations. For smaller parties, the funding that they will need to be able to have these town hall meetings and the like might not be in place. But if we want to have a democratic process that looks outside of the 2 major political parties and looks to third-party candidates or independent candidates who have never won since Jamaica has gained independence and had elections, then it's certainly going to be us actively creating spaces and pathways for them to be able to do so.
But you know what I always find very interesting is that people say, oh, neither major political party, neither of them come with anything new, blah, blah. But no one seems to want to give the independents a shot. And like I said, if you have conversations with them, you do realize that there is substance. But I think the problem has been not being able to engage and not being able to reach or get their message through across different parts of our population. So you don't see them on the TikTok. Do you have a TikTok account?
I do have a TikTok account.
I think I need to get on it.
I have a TikTok account. Persons are engaging with me on that TikTok account, but you're also seeing independent candidates attempt to get their messaging out. Part of what the two-party culture here means is that persons are looking to see who can help me.
Yeah.
And there are only formal positions made for the government and the opposition. Our constitution says the person that commands the respect of the majority is the prime minister. The person who commands respect of the minority is the opposition leader. There's just no space in our system for third-party candidates. I look to Guyana, however, that had elections on Monday, that we have heard preliminary results come out yesterday, indicating that the government stays there, but their second party win is now able to gain seats, and even smaller third parties. 6 parties were on their slate, and it may seem that every single party, based on their system, proportional representation, will now show up in Parliament. It's just not the same here in the first past the post system here in Jamaica. And for independent candidates, they would struggle to get the funding that they would need to then carry out any of the promises that they have in their platform.
But we can dream.
We can dream.
We can dream. We can hope. We can dream and we can hope. You're looking at more scenes there in St. James. Again, we're seeing a lot of elderly persons in the line. We're standing by, Jody, to join Jermaine Brown, who is in St. Elizabeth, and he has been roving that parish from this morning. I'm not sure if we are ready for him, but I was told that before we go to Jermaine Brown, this election, it is said, will be decided on, or rather, at some key battleground seats. Take a look at this feature.
Hanover Eastern and Western, both controlled by the Jamaica Labour Party. However, the electorate have traditionally voted for the PNP for the past 4 general elections, with a shift to the JLP in Hanover Eastern in 2016. In Hanover Eastern, Dave Brown won against the PNP's Wavell Hines with 5,920 to 4,420 votes. He goes up against Andrea Perkis. In Hanover Western, incumbent Tamika Davis will face Heather Miller Bennett in the polls. Ms. Davis in 2020 defeated the PNP's Ian Hales, who is now the party's candidate in Western Westmoreland. That's another traditional seat which the party lost to the JLP's Moreland Wilson in 2020. But it won't be Wilson this time around. Instead, Mr. Hales will face off with Dr. Garfield James, a former PNP councillor turned JLP member. In Hanover Eastern, the JLP's Daniel Lawrence is up against the General Secretary of the PNP, Dr. Dayton Campbell. Lawrence won the seat against Victor Wright by just 12 votes in 2020. And in Westmoreland Central, incumbent George Wright is going up against the PNP's Dwayne Vaz. Wright won the seat by a little over 1,000 votes. In Northeast St. Elizabeth, incumbent the JLP's Delroy Slowly is going up against the PNP's Zuleika Jess. Slowly won by less than 500 votes in 2020. We go over now to Central Manchester, where incumbent the JLP's Rhoda Moore Crawford is up against Mandeville's Mayor Donovan Mitchell. Crawford caused a major upset in 2020 after winning against the PNP's Peter Bunting. Peter Bunting is now the PNP's candidate for Manchester Southern. He goes up against the JLP's Robert Chin. Chin won the seat by less than 100 votes in 2020. The Clarendon Northwest seat is another one to watch. The JLP's Warren Newby is up against the PNP's Richard Azan. Newby takes over from Philip Henriquez, who won the seat by 139 votes. In Northern Clarendon, the JLP's Dwight Sibbles is up against the PNP's Wavell Hines. Sibbles won in 2020 by 713 votes. And in Clarendon North Central, where Robert Morgan is up against the PNP's R.J. Dixon. This seat is particularly interesting because of a power shift caused by a JLP councillor in Moko, who crossed the floor and still won his seat in the 2024 local government election. There are a few seats to watch in St. Catherine. In St. Catherine Southeastern, Robert Miller is up against Dr. Alfred Dawes. That seat was won by a little over 1,000 votes by the JLP in 2020. In St. Catherine Northwestern, Newton Amos is up against Damian Crawford. In 2020, the PNP won the seat by 150 votes. In St. Catharines Southern, the PNP's Fitz Jackson is up against the JLP's Delroy Dobney. Despite this seat being a stronghold PNP constituency, the last election saw the PNP barely clinching the victory by 150 votes. To the corporate area now in St. Andrew East Central, where the PNP's Dennis Gordon is up against the JLP's Davion Vassell. The constituency traditionally votes PNP. Former PNP President Dr. Peter Phillips has been the MP for decades. However, the last election saw the JLP gaining more supporters here. The PNP won by 759 votes. In central Kingston, the JLP's Donovan Williams is up against the PNP's Steve McGregor. This is another one to watch because central Kingston was a PNP stronghold before the 2020 election. Williams won it by about 200 votes. In St. Thomas Eastern, where the JLP's Michelle Charles is up against the PNP's Yvonne Shaw. And we're going up to St. Mary Central, where Omar Newell is up against Nathaniel Mirage. This seat is also traditionally PNP, however, the last election saw the JLP gaining grounds on the PNP's Dr. Maurice Guy, who won the seat by just over 300 votes. And another one to watch is St. Mary Western, where Robert Montague is the MP. He is up against the PNP's Omar Woodbine. Despite winning this constituency by over 3,000 votes in 2020, the last local government election, the PNP won 3 out of 5 divisions here, which pundits believe signals voter intention. In Trelawney Northern, where the JLP's Tova Hamilton is up against Dr. Wickham McNeil. Despite the JLP winning by over 1,700 votes, the local government election also saw the PNP gaining ground, winning 3 out of 5 divisions. And over in St. James Southern, where the JLP's Homer Davis is up against the PNP's Nikisha Burchell.
All right, it's great to see a lot of the younger persons going up against the so-called heavyweights. I think that it has made the entire process very exciting to watch. We saw here where in some of the battleground seats, Jody, where we see some of the newcomers to politics. I really do hope that they are not turned off if they are not successful and that they remain in the seats. Some of the things that I wonder about sometimes, okay, so I put my hat in the ring to represent X constituency. I was not successful. You know, there's a debate over whether I should remain or if I should try somewhere else. I think that, you know, you should stick with the people. That is just my opinion. But it is something that has come up during this campaign where you find that there are candidates who perhaps had their hat in the ring for X constituency and now they're going Y, or they've decided to, you know, they had a change of heart. I mean, all of these issues, it makes some question. Are you in it because you just want a seat, or are you in it because you love representing or representational politics and you want to serve the people? What are your thoughts on that?
I think it's disingenuous to say that you're not just there because you want to win a seat. You're not there for giggles. You're certainly there to get some sort of benefit, and you better represent the people, you might feel, if you are in fact in the House of Parliament, if you are in the lower house as a member of Parliament, being able to have that sort of back and forth, being able to marshal and wield funds, to be able to then have persons see what it is that you're able to do and to further the goals and aims of your political organization. But staying in the constituency is also very important. Persons who would have campaigned for you, canvassed for you, worked for you, are wanting to see you then put the work in. And I have seen constituencies flipped because of consistent work in constituencies. That is, a candidate loses the first time around, but they have name recognition now. And that's what many of these first timers are hoping to get. Name recognition. They're going against persons who have greater national profiles than they do, but they're on the ground going to get some sort of movement. Perhaps the next time around, they'll be in a better position then to flip a constituency or to push even further into the lead that the incumbent might have. It's certainly going to be important, though, to see at the end of today which political organizations were able to put candidates out, especially the new candidates, and support them to do as best as they can and perhaps win a seat today.
Jody, we also want to acknowledge our viewers on YouTube, Television Jamaica YouTube channel. We just want to acknowledge you. We also acknowledge a lot of persons from the diaspora. They are watching in. Obviously, they would be interested in what is happening here politically. But right now, we want to say a special welcome. This is not sports, but Jermaine Brown is actually reporting live from St. Elizabeth. Jermaine, exactly where are you? I was told that
Brompton Primary.
He is where? Okay, let's. Okay, so he is going to tell us where he is. Jermaine, over to you.
Oh, yeah. Your time.
All right, thanks, Janella. Well, of course, you're in the southwest St. Elizabeth, the constituency where we are currently at present. Of course, this is the constituency where Floyd Green is the sitting member of parliament, and he's being challenged, of course, by the PNP's around Wellington. Well, thus far, the voting has been relatively slow. We have seen a few complaints where, for instance, the disabled members of the disabled community are complaining that they're not being able to cast their votes early because able-bodied persons have been somewhat preventing them from doing so. So we saw a bit of skirmish at the Black River primary school earlier as well, where there was a rush when the gates opened. We're currently at Brompton Primary School. Of course, Brompton is one of 4 divisions in the southwest constituency of St. Elizabeth. And I tell you, this is one of the constituencies where it's both parties will be watching very closely, because since 1962, whichever party has won the elections, this constituency has gone to that winning party. So it's one of the battlegrounds. It's one of the weather vane constituencies, along with southeastern St. Elizabeth, where we'll be going shortly. And of course, there's St. Mary Western, for instance. But these 2 constituencies in St. Elizabeth, southwest and southeast, are considered very, very crucial. We're yet to see Floyd Green or Miranda Wellington. I have reached out to both of them, so just waiting for a response. We understand that Floyd Green, he was to cast his vote at the Black River Primary School. We were there, but we are yet to see him, so we're hoping to catch up with him a bit later on. But in terms of voting and how that is going, like I said, relatively slow, but the voters, they have turned out and in relatively clear numbers as well on both sides. But the complaint thus far is that the process has been slow, and that they're hoping that things can be sped up a bit. Persons are complaining that they've been here from 6 o'clock. So that's very long, and they have only 3 hours by law. So that has been the main complaint thus far here in southeast St. Elizabeth.
So much, my colleague there, Jermaine Brown in southeast St. Elizabeth. Again, Jody, we hear the complaints about the long wait times. We soon go back to that. But earlier we reported that Jamaica Labour Party leader Dr. Andrew Holness voted. Our reporter, Romardo Lyons, was there and spoke with him.
Thanks, Janella. So as you heard earlier, I spoke with opposition leader Mark Golding, and he's very confident about the potential outcome of this general election. Well, so too is Dr. Andrew Holness, leader of the Jamaica Labour Party. He showed up moments ago here in St. Andrew Eastern to cast his vote right here at Mona High School. Now, this constituency is being contested by the JLP's Favour Williams, the PNP's Patricia Duncan Sutherland, and Carl Cargill from the JPP. I spoke with Mr. Holness after he cast his vote, and this is what he had to say. Dr. Holness, Romardo TVJ, the latest Don Anderson poll shows the opposition ahead. He contends that his predictions have been accurate.
Don Anderson predicted in 2007, 2011. He predicted in 2016, and he predicted in 2020. Come on. You know, I'm not going to discredit any poll. Let me say that. But I don't listen to Don Anderson's poll.
This campaign trail has been clouded with talks of corruption. Do you think that will affect how some Jamaicans vote?
Without question. I mean, there are Jamaicans who will listen to the headline and not necessarily read the story. So that's something that we factor in. I think the challenge with corruption in Jamaica is that it has focused heavily on the name and shame and, you know, using bureaucracy to try to prevent corruption. I think there's another model, which is a model that actually works. And I've said it before, I say it again. Efficient systems can't be corrupted. So if you're trying to deal with corruption, you have to make systems efficient. And to make systems efficient, you want quick delivery of results, you want systems that are integrated, you want transparency, and you want a fair process of adjudication. So we are looking to, as we have announced, our speed program and increasing the efficiency of our public bureaucracy. And I think that is where you're going to get the greatest gains against corruption.
What I've observed at polling stations in both constituencies is people strolling in here and there. A lot of people who we spoke to said that they wanted to come out as early as possible, head to the polling stations, cast their votes, and head back home before the crowd.
Got here a little after 7. There was no movement. I think because of some new arrangements. But after that, you know, things started to move and everybody cooled down. There was a whole lot of chatting, you know. We're wondering why we have to wait so long and all of that. But everything is going fine there now. And I'm happy I voted.
Send a message to people at home who are undecided. They don't know if they want to vote. They don't know if they're going to do it. What would you say to those people?
I tell them to come, you know, because it's peaceful. There's a whole lot of security people here. And everybody seems to be engaged. You know, there's no violence. You know, so come, do your vote and go home.
Now, the presence of the security forces, as you can see behind me, is very noticeable. And I've seen representatives from the Jamaica Defense Force, the Jamaica Constabulary Force, even some officers from MOCA. Now, I'll continue to monitor the situation in both constituencies and provide updates. It's back to you in studio, Janella.
Thank you so much, Romardo, there with that very comprehensive report. And Jody, before we comment on some of the points that came out of that interview, let's head over to St. Thomas. It's where our reporter Kirk Wright is currently standing by live. Is in East St. Thomas. Kirk is in East St. Thomas. Hopefully we will get back to him. We are going back to him now. Okay, let's take in that live report from Kirk Wright in St. Thomas. But lots to talk about. Okay, so we apologize, but we will try to make contact with Kirk again as we try to sort out these technical issues. But lots to talk about from that interview with the Prime Minister. We have heard the debate over and over again about polls and whether, you know, they influence voting one, and you know whether polls are a true representation of how a country will vote. Your own thoughts on it, because you have covered this for years now.
We are looking at a snapshot in time when you look at a poll, when you're looking at the particular time that they go out into the field and ask questions, but it also is a reflection of where people are and where they're likely to be come election day. Now, today is the only poll that counts.
That is correct.
It's the only one that really matters. But we have had on the show Don Anderson as he talks to us about the market research services, the limited polls that have been done in conjunction with the RJ Gleaner Communications Group. He's gone out into the field twice in the month of August. First at the beginning of the month, second at the very end of August, giving us a reflection of what's there on the ground. And while the Prime Minister said he does not pay attention to those polls, there has also also been information from market research services that shows how accurate they have been in their predictions over the past few elections. So it certainly will be instructive for us to look today to see, as they have shown here, very close poll, no calling there, 3.1% divides both political parties with a margin of error of plus or minus 3%, with a 95% confidence level that we are expecting to see very close numbers. Many of the seat predictions that we have show us very close numbers. Political organizations will say, and they must, Janella, that they are confident that they're going to be winning, but it is likely to be close. Now, all that said, we don't know what happens until later tonight. That is correct. And unlike other countries where they wait for their polling results and they wait for their election results, we expect to go to bed tonight, thanks to the hard work of the Electoral Office of Jamaica and the Electoral Commission of Jamaica, to go tonight with a declared winner when we go to our bed. So tonight, we'll find out if those polls really did tell us where we would be.
And I think it also boils down to organization, because as you would have observed, both parties over the past few weeks, certainly, they have been able to pull large crowds. And so, but crowds don't win elections. At the end of the day, it is going to boil down to which party was most organized on the ground, which party was able to get their people out and as early as possible, because that is very important, because persons might be turned off, just say, for example, if it rains or whatever the case might be. But organization is extremely important. And I was told, Jody, we're going to come back to that point. I was told that we now have Kirk, right, who is in St. Thomas. Kirk?
Thank you very much. So we're here in Eastern St. Thomas, and we're behind the licensed primary school is behind me. That's where the PNP's Rosemary Shaw is expected to vote. Now, we saw her on her way here talking to her supporters, but she's not here. We're not sure what time she'll be voting, but earlier on, we were at the New Pira community where Dr. Mitchell Charles voted, and we were told that's where she's from. Now, voting is progressing very slowly. We were there for about maybe an hour and a half, and for as long as we were there, only 3 persons voted, Dr. Charles being the 4th person. We got a chance to speak to her, and she was beaming with confidence that she would win. She told us that she's hoping that persons would think about getting water, road, a clinic. Those are the things that she's hoping that persons will consider and vote for her. Nevertheless, she said whatever their decision, she's willing to accept. But I'll let you hear exactly some of the other things that she said to us today when we spoke.